Welcome everyone, and this is the second experiment in the web technology lab, and this time we are dealing with HTML forms. So our task was to create an examination form, and we have several types of details that we have to collect, and we have to upload that information. So for this, I will be explaining how we have achieved it. So the first input that we have here is the paper that you are appearing for using radio button. So here we can see the code. That we have used for this. We started out with a form tag, and we have set a field set and a legend. The field set divides the section and also marks this using the legend. The legend is displayed here, and the field set marks the area for this section of the form. So then we have our input type. We have used input type radio for radio buttons, and to make these of the same group, we will have to provide the same name for all of them, and then we provide the respective values, and we type the text which is supposed to be displayed on the page. And also we have to keep one of them checked, so that at least one of them is checked by default. So we have kept btech as checked. So now I'll be selecting btech, and next what we have are four drop down boxes that allow us to select uh, the different types of cities that we can take our test from. So for this, each drop down box I have created two choices. So to create a drop down box, you use the select tag, and you give the name of the tag and also the id. So for this, for the first one, I have given two option values. One is Chennai, one is Bangalore. So for each select tag, I have given two option values that can be chosen from. So if we see, I can change my preferences according to the candidate. So after this is another set of radio buttons that is allowing me to change the language of the medium of the exam. So for this, this is yet again one more radio button input. So I will create three radio buttons and also give them the same name so that they are of the same group, and give them the appropriate values. So here I'm just going to change it to Hindi, and then next I have to type out the candidate's name. So you see that we have come to the next part of the form. So again I will open a field set and set the legend for it, and also I'm giving labels for all the form elements. So here I have created input box for the name. I have done that using input type equals text. I've also given it an id, and also used a pattern in it. So here this allows only letters, and I've given the name required for it. If any format is violated, the alphabets only title will be displayed. So here I'm just going to type my name. So next two fields are also of the same type. They are the father's name and the mother's name, and I've used the same code as for the first field. So I'm just going to type out values, and next is another radio button. It asks whether the person is disabled or not. So for this I have started a label person with disability, and then I have given two inputs which are of type radio, and use the same name so that they are grouped together. So in this I'm not disabled, so I'm going to leave it at no. And then again I have one more text box using the input type equal to email. So as this is used to collect my email address, I will have to follow a certain set of format. So to enforce that format, I have given type equals email. So I'll type out my email, and then I want to collect the user's date of birth. So for this I have given input type equals date, and I've also given a name DOP, and I've given it a required parameter and a minimum parameter. Now this required parameter makes this a required form element. The user cannot leave this form element unfilled, and also there's a minimum date that has to be achieved. So for this I'm just going to check a date, and we have one more radio button input for male and female gender. So we have done that using input type equals radio. So I'm going to leave it at male. And the next one is the academic details that we have to fill out. So for academic details, what we have done is we have an input type equals number here, and we've given maximum and a minimum value so that people who are after or before this years cannot attempt this exam. So for this I will fill out a value, and then we have one more radio button input that allows us to select the board. So I'm going to leave this as CBSE. And then next we have a qualifying exam text box, that is just a normal text box which is done through input type equals text. So I'm just going to type CBSE. So next is a similar text box that asks us about our place of schooling. So I'm just going to type place and then the year of passing. So this is again an input type equal to number, and this is also required for the form. So for this we've not given any min or max. And then marks scored in 12th. Now this is again a number, but for this we do have a min and max. We have a max of 100 and a min of 60. So I'm just going to type out 90 over here, and the name of the college in another text box is just going to type this, and also an address. Now this address has a specific pattern to it. Although it is created using input type equals text, I have given it a pattern attribute here that requires it to be anything, any characters, but with a minimum length of 15 characters and a maximum length of 100 characters. So for this I will just be typing a random address. Okay, our next field set is about the contact details. So we have one more email text box over here, which is using input type equals email. So this will expect a standard email form. So I'm going to type out my email again, and then this is the mobile number field. Now for the mobile number field we have a specific pattern here. So this is an input type equals text, but this uses a specific pattern. So this field can accept anything from 0 to 9, all the digits, but it requires it to be 13 characters long. So for this I'm just going to type out 13 characters. Okay, and the next one is a landline. So for the landline, I've used this using input type equals text, but here again we have given a pattern. Now this pattern requires it to be any digit, but anywhere from 8 to 12 characters. So I'm just going to type out the character, and then we have a tag password. So for the password, we have used the regex pattern again, and this requires it to be a character, a digit, and a symbol. So for this just going to type out a password, appropriate one, and the next section we have here is to upload a photograph and a signature. Now for this photograph and signature we've used an input type equals file. I'm also given the accepting type, which is supposed to be an image which is in JPEG form. So we have done the same thing for signature. This also accepts an image in JPEG form. So we're just going to select a file for this, and we will submit now. I think this is not matching the format. 3, 4. And the password is also not matching the format. I'm just going to change it, and now you see everything is proper. So for the submit button you will just have to give input type equals to submit, and this will submit it to the URL that is mentioned within the action. But since here we do not have a backend running, we will just give in hash. So if I click submit, it's not going to give me anything, but I can see in the URL all the parameters that I have submitted. So this is the end of the second experiment in the web technology lab. Thank you.